In the parish of St. James, Jamaica, the sun beat down with an unyielding rhythm. A dusty road in rural Jamaica with a young boy seen running. It was a place where life moved at its own pace. But one small boy, Yohan, did not move with the slow, steady pulse of the island. He moved like lightning. He ran everywhere he went. He ran to the market for his mother. He ran to the river to swim with his friends. He ran because it felt as natural as breathing. There was a restless energy inside him. It was a fire that could only be soothed by the feeling of his feet pounding against the hard-packed dirt roads. He was not just running, he was flying. Yohan didn't have a track. He didn't have fancy running shoes. What he had was the open road and an endless supply of motivation. He found his competition not in other children, but in the cars that rumbled past his home. He would wait by the side of the road, his small body coiled like a spring. The moment a car approached, he would explode. He would race the machine down the dusty lane, his legs pumped like pistons, his arms sliced through the thick, humid air. The drivers would often laugh and honk their horns in encouragement, surprised by the boy's incredible speed. This was more than just a game for the young Yohan Blake. It was a test. It was his own private Olympics, held every single day. He pushed himself to go faster. He wanted to beat his previous times. He learned to listen to his body. He learned about pacing and endurance, not from a coach, but from the simple act of trying to outrun a motor engine. He was building the foundations of a champion without even realizing it. The dusty roads of his childhood were his first training ground. They were shaping his muscles. They were shaping his lungs. They were shaping, most importantly, his will to win. The neighbors would watch him, shaking their heads with a smile. "That boy has too much energy," they would say. But it was more than just energy. It was a raw, untamed talent. It was a gift that was waiting to be discovered. He wasn't just chasing cars. He was chasing a feeling. He was chasing the electrifying sensation of speed, a feeling that would one day take him far beyond the roads of St. James. It was during a school sports day that Yohan's casual races against cars transformed into something more. He was just one of many children, all lined up in their simple school uniforms. The air was filled with excitement. Parents cheered from the sidelines. The smell of jerk chicken drifted from nearby stalls. For most, it was just a day of fun. But for Yohan, standing at the starting line, something felt different. He looked down the makeshift track, a simple lane marked in the grass. This was not a dusty road. This was a race against other boys, not machines. The starter's call cut through the noise. Yohan's focus narrowed. The world around him seemed to fade away. All he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. When the signal came, he launched forward. His form wasn't perfect. Raw, powerful, instinctive. He ran with the same explosive energy he used to chase cars. The other boys seemed to be moving in slow motion. He felt the pure, exhilarating joy of being in front. He crossed the finish line far ahead of everyone else, his chest heaving, a wide smile spreading across his face. That single race was a turning point. It was the moment a playful habit became a focused ambition. Winning felt good. It felt right. People started to notice. A teacher pulled him aside. "Yohan," he said, "you have a gift. You are faster than anyone I have ever seen at your age." The words were simple, but they landed with incredible force. Someone else saw what he felt inside. The idea that his running could be more than just a game began to take root in his mind. From that day forward, the world looked different. Yohan still ran the dusty roads, but now he ran with a new purpose. He wasn't just chasing cars anymore. He was chasing a future. He began to hear stories of other Jamaican sprinters. Arthur Wint, Herb McKinley. They were heroes who had run for their country. He learned about the Olympic Games, a place where the fastest people in the world gathered to compete. The spark ignited on that school field began to burn brighter. It was the start of an incredible journey, one that would test his body, his spirit, his heart. Before the track, there was the cricket pitch. For many young boys in Jamaica, cricket was the first love. Yohan Blake was no different. He loved the sport. He was a fast bowler, a position that required explosive power and speed. He would thunder down the pitch, his arm a blur, and hurl the ball towards the batsman. One day, the principal of his school, Green Park Primary and Junior High, watched him play. The principal, O'Neill Ankle, saw something others had missed. It wasn't just Yohan's bowling that caught his eye. It was the sheer, unadulterated speed of his run. Mr. Ankle approached Yohan after the game. He had a proposition. He wanted Yohan to forget about cricket for a while. He wanted him to focus solely on running. He saw a sprinter, not a fast bowler. He made a bet with the young boy. "If you try track," he said, "I promise you, you will find more success than you ever could in cricket." He agreed to the bet. He decided to give track and field his full attention. The decision to focus on track led Yohan to St. Jago High School. This was not just any school. St. Jago, in Spanish Town, was a legendary sprinter factory, known for producing some of Jamaica's finest talent. Yohan was no longer the fastest boy in his small village. He was surrounded by other gifted athletes, all with the same dream, becoming a champion. Training became more demanding than anything he'd known. Drills for form, exercises for strength, endless laps to build endurance. The coaches at St. Jago were tough. They saw his raw talent. They also saw flaws in his technique that needed smoothing. This environment was a crucible. For Yohan, it was exactly what he needed. Competition fueled his fire. Every practice a chance to prove himself. It was during his time at St. Jago that Yohan earned his famous nickname. It came from his training style. While other athletes might pace themselves, Yohan attacked every single workout with ferocious intensity. Coaches would often have to tell him to slow down, to save his energy. But Yohan only knew one speed: all out. He didn't just run, he devoured the track. This relentless drive earned him the moniker, the Beast. It was a name spoken with a mixture of awe and respect. The nickname was a mindset. When Yohan stepped into the starting blocks, he transformed. In his place stood the Beast. At the 2007 Carifta Games, he set a new junior national record in the 100 meters with a time of 10.11 seconds. It was faster than Usain Bolt had run as a junior. The world of international athletics began to pay attention. Who was this young Jamaican they called the Beast? After finishing high school, Yohan made the most important move of his career. He joined Mills's Racers Track Club. Mills was a legendary figure, the guru of Jamaican sprinting. The Racers Track Club was home to the best of the best. Suddenly, Yohan was no longer the top dog. He was a junior member of a team that included the fastest man in history, Usain Bolt. Glenn Mills immediately went to work on Yohan. He saw the incredible raw power, but he also saw the technical imperfections. Mills began the painstaking process of refining his technique. The relationship between Blake and Mills was more than just athlete and coach. Mills became a mentor, a father figure. He taught Yohan not just how to run, but how to be a professional athlete. He traveled to Bydgoszcz, Poland, for the IAAF World Junior Championships. This was his chance to test himself against the best young sprinters from every corner of the globe. In the 100-meter final, Blake was not at his best. He finished in 4th place, just outside the medals. It was a bitter disappointment. However, the championships were not over. There was still the 4x100-meter relay. This was a chance for redemption. He ran a blistering leg. They crossed the line in 1st place, winning the gold medal. Yohan Blake was a world junior champion. He returned to Jamaica not as a defeated athlete, but as a gold medalist with a renewed sense of purpose. The glimpse of greatness he experienced in Poland only made him hungrier for more. Sharing a training ground with Usain Bolt was a unique and challenging experience. Their contrasting styles were obvious. Yohan could watch the world record holder up close every single day. The constant competition pushed Yohan to be better. On the other hand, Yohan was often seen as number two. That label was frustrating for an athlete with immense ambition. Yohan did not want to be the next Usain Bolt. He wanted to be the first Yohan Blake. Coach Glenn Mills was the master at managing that complex relationship. He ensured the rivalry remained healthy and productive, pushing both to greater heights. He knew that to beat the man, he had to train with the man. The daily battles on the Kingston practice track were preparing him for the ultimate showdown. For a male sprinter, the 10-second barrier in the 100 meters is a sacred mark. It is the line that separates the very good from the truly elite. For Yohan Blake, this barrier became a focus. He would come agonizingly close, running 10-point-something time and time again. The breakthrough finally came in July 2009 at the Golden Gala meeting in Rome. When the gun fired, he exploded from the blocks. He didn't press or force it. He let the speed flow. As he crossed the finish line and looked up at the giant screen, he saw the number he had been dreaming of: 9.96 seconds. He had done it. He had shattered the barrier. He was now officially a member of the Sub-10 Club. This was a statement to the world. He was a legitimate threat on the senior international circuit. With a sub-10 second time under his belt, Yohan Blake arrived at the 2009 World Championships in Berlin with high hopes. Before he even had a chance to race, disaster struck. Reports emerged that Yohan had tested positive for a stimulant. Ultimately, he was cleared of a major doping infraction, but handed a 3-month ban for not being entirely forthcoming about the supplement. The ban meant he was forced to withdraw from the World Championships. He had to watch from the sidelines as his training partner, Usain Bolt, smashed world records. It was a devastating blow. It was a bitter, painful lesson in the importance of professionalism and accountability off the track. It taught him that being a world-class athlete was about more than just running fast. Instead of breaking him, the ordeal made him stronger and more determined. He vowed to come back a smarter, more focused athlete. The year 2011 was targeted as his comeback. The World Championships were being held in Daegu, South Korea, and Yohan was determined to contend for the title. He quietly moved through the preliminary rounds of the 100 meters, looking powerful and composed. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown. The focus, as always, was on his famous training partner, the reigning champion and world record holder, Usain Bolt. Then, the unthinkable happened. A false start. And the guilty athlete was the defending champion, Usain Bolt. He was disqualified. Suddenly, the race was wide open. For Yohan, this was a moment of immense pressure. He had to hold his nerve. When the race finally started, Yohan produced the performance of his life. He crossed the finish line in 9.92 seconds, looking to his side, almost surprised to see no one there. Primal roar. He had done it. Yohan Blake was the 100-meter world champion. At just 21 years old, he was the youngest champion in the event's history. It was a moment of supreme triumph, the culmination of years of hard work and the perfect redemption after the pain of 2009. He was no longer in anyone's shadow. The 2012 Jamaican Olympic Trials were a seismic event. In a stunning turn of events, Blake beat Bolt not once, but twice. The 100-meter final was billed as the race of the century. Usain Bolt produced a moment of pure magic. Yohan Blake was just a fraction behind, storming home to win the silver medal. A few nights later, the story repeated itself in the 200-meter final. Bolt was again victorious, with Blake once again taking the silver medal. He did not leave London without a gold medal, however. In the 4x100-meter relay, Blake teamed up with Usain Bolt, Nesta Carter, and Michael Frater. Running the third leg, Blake was magnificent. They had not just won the gold medal, they had shattered their own world record. It was a symphony of speed. Standing on top of the podium, hearing the Jamaican anthem play, the gold medal around his neck, was a moment of pure joy. He was a champion. He was a world record holder. He was an Olympic champion. In April 2013, during a race in Jamaica, disaster struck. As he powered down the track, he felt a sharp, searing pain in his right hamstring. The tear was worse than first feared. He was forced to withdraw from the 2013 World Championships in Moscow. This was Yohan's first major injury. The physical pain was immense, but the mental and emotional toll was even greater. Just as Yohan was beginning to feel like his old self again, fate dealt another cruel blow. He collapsed onto the track, clutching the same right hamstring. This time, the injury was even more severe. The muscle had not just torn, it had been ripped from the bone. It was a catastrophic injury that required major surgery. The recovery was a long and arduous ordeal. Yohan spent months unable to even walk properly, let alone run. The mental struggle was immense. Doubts crept in. Would he ever be the same? Would the beast ever be unleashed again? During these dark times, his support system was crucial. Coach Glenn Mills, his family and close friends provided the support he needed. He made it to the 2016 Rio Olympics, a testament to his incredible perseverance. While he failed to win an individual medal, he helped the Jamaican 4x100-meter relay team win another gold medal. He adapted his training, listening to his body more. He became a mentor to younger athletes, sharing his experiences and wisdom. The story of Yohan Blake is not just a story about running fast. It is a lesson in resilience. True strength is not about never falling. It is about getting up every single time you fall. His impact is measured not just in medals, but in the inspiration he provides. The boy who chased cars on the dusty roads of St. James never truly left. Ultimately, Yohan Blake's sprint to Olympic gold is a story of hope. It's a message that your beginnings do not define your end. The echo of Yohan Blake's footprint on the track speaks of power. It speaks of speed. It speaks of victory. But it speaks even louder of perseverance, of character, of an unbreakable will. And that is a legacy that will inspire for generations to come, long after the stopwatches have been put away.